this?
Tell me your name, I'll tell you mine.
I don't think so.
What's that noise?
Popcorn.
You making popcorn?
Well, I'm getting ready to watch a video.
Really? What?
Oh, just some scary movie.
You like scary movies?
Uh-huh.
You never told me your name.
Why do you want to know my name?
I want to know who I'm looking at.
In my mind, the 1996 slasher film Scream is my favorite horror film of all time. And I know that there are definitely better ones out there, but Scream still remains just my favorite. It's such a great movie. Many consider this film to be more of a clever spoof of horror films, to which I can really see where you're coming from. However, I still think it's an extremely effective horror story that really destroyed many of the usual cliches, crafted interesting characters the audiences could get behind, and was just overall really fun to watch. You didn't feel any sense of dread because of Wes Craven's special humor infused with true sequences of terror. But for this analysis today, I want to discuss the opening scene with Casey, played by the lovely niece of Steven Spielberg, Drew Barrymore, whom we think is going to be our protagonist throughout the story, but is killed nearly 13 minutes into the movie. The film opens with her making popcorn, ready to watch a scary movie, only to receive a call from the killer. At first, we believe this could be just anyone who made a mistake calling this girl, or it could be someone prank calling her, or even something sinister because it's a horror film.
What did you say?
This to me has always been brilliant because Craven begins the film with a hand reaching for a phone, after the title of the film basically slashes in with the sound of a woman screaming. It's brilliant because of its sound design and getting us ready for what we're about to see. After she hangs up, we get only one establishing shot of Casey's house, and it has always creeped me out how the swing is slowly rotating, as if someone was just swinging on it and is getting off ready to kill Casey. I love the fact that Craven decides not to show any other houses because, as we discover later throughout the scene, there are none in a close area for her to escape to. This is the perfect kind of destination for any kind of horror film. In the middle of nowhere, with no hope of escape or rescue. The conversation becomes a little bit lighthearted as the two begin to discuss their favorite kind of horror films, and Wes makes one of the best in-jokes to his films I've ever heard.
Nightmare on Elm Street.
Is that the one where the guy had knives for fingers?
Yeah, Freddy Krueger.
Freddy, that's right. I like that movie. It was scary.
Wow, well, the first one was, but the rest sucked.
But being the master of suspense after the great Alfred Hitchcock, Craven won't allow anyone's guard down as the killer, or in this case, the mysteriously anonymous caller, which is what I want to call it, is attempting to extract any bit of info he can out of Casey. When he asks for her name, she asks why, and his reply always, and I mean always, sends shivers down my spine.
You never told me your name.
Why do you want to know my name?
I want to know who I'm looking at.
What did you say?
I want to know who I'm talking to.
That's not what you said.
This is fantastic writing because for the rest of the scene, the viewer is on edge just like the victim. It's one of the few instances where we can automatically connect with the supposed protagonist. The conversation soon turns deadly when he threatens to gut Casey if she hangs up again. And this is where a booming score kicks in, now warning us that something very serious is about to go down.
Listen, asshole!
No, you listen, you little bitch. You hang up on me again, I'll gut you like a fish, understand?
When she suddenly hears a knock on the door, she wonders who's there, which we all know is a death wish in stereotypical horror films. And I once again love the fact that Craven crafts subtle humor that doesn't destroy the suspense. The stakes get even higher when not only Casey's boyfriend is mentioned, but she finds him tied to a chair outside her home. I love the fact that we still don't see the killer. The first time I saw the movie, I had absolutely no idea what Ghostface looked like, so it was all the more chilling to me. I also mentioned the great Alfred Hitchcock earlier in this video, and that's because Wes Craven used very similar tactics when preparing huge scares throughout the film. You need to pay attention to every aspect of the frame. Every shot is there for a reason, and Craven was able to understand how a shot emotionally affects its audience. This is done by providing close-ups on every shot of Casey when she must use her knowledge of movie trivia to save her boyfriend. Now pay close attention to the dialogue that follows. I'll even put subtitles up.
Now for the real question.
No!
Oh, you're doing so well. We can't stop now.
Stop, leave us alone!
The addition of the word "we" is an extremely strong foreshadowing for the final twist, in which there were in fact two killers.
What's the matter, Sydney? You look like you've seen a ghost.
Unfortunately, she screws up the second question and her boyfriend dies. All of a sudden, a chair comes crashing through the window, and we get to see the killer from Casey's point of view run across the hallway. I love how it's accompanied with a sudden cue from the score, which is excellent in its own right. She grabs a kitchen knife to defend herself, and pay close attention to the sound effect used as she takes the knife out. Casey's able to find a way to get outside, and the score suddenly changes when she recognizes her parents are almost home. The score change adds this sudden feeling of hope, but that's not how a horror movie works, as we all know. And we come to one of the most effective jump scares of all time. As a matter of fact, when I first saw that, I nearly fell out of my chair because I hadn't seen a horror movie at that caliber before, so it was all the more shocking to me. It really works because the entire scene has been building up to its own climactic moment, so to speak. As her parents come rolling in, the killer is one step ahead and stabs Casey right in the chest. She falls, gets choked, slams her foot where the sun doesn't shine, but doesn't get away, and faces her death nearly 13 minutes into the film. Why does the opening scene of Scream work? In my mind, it works because it's a truly terrifying sequence that anyone could be placed into, infuses perfectly crafted humor in it, has plenty of tongue-in-cheek dialogue,
Did you settle for a PG-13 relationship?
and introduces the killer as someone who isn't impervious to pain. The killer isn't just this impervious monster of a man like Michael Myers who can get shot 50 times and still live to tell the tale. Ghostface in the movie is absolutely vulnerable, but it's the dialogue and the idea of the killer infusing fear, the power of antagonism to entice people to go to certain places and suddenly they get killed. That to me is the power of a great villain, and in my opinion, Ghostface is one of my personal favorites. Now the last minute of the opening scene is focused on the parent's perspective, which for any parent would be absolutely traumatizing for life to hear that their own child is being killed. The last sound they hear is of Casey moaning her last breath before a male voice breaks the phone. It's really super chilling, and for any parent, as I said, this would be absolutely disturbing like no other feeling ever. And we had one of the most intense opening sequences ever put up on the big screen. Overall, Scream definitely has its jump scare moments, continuity errors, innuendo, and dated 90s pop culture references, but it's mainly a film that succeeded in generating the perfect amount of suspense and blending it with excellent pacing and humor. My only real issue with the opening was that Casey had multiple areas to run once she got outside of her house, yet she decided to run in a straight line so the killer could get to her. That was a very dumb decision, but apart from that, it's an awesome scene. It still remains one of the best opening scenes ever made, and I appreciated the fact that the producers really took this film seriously, because it would have been a mess if it wasn't. Now I know this because we actually got a very terrible spoof of it 4 years later. A quick little side note was this was the movie that made me really get interested in Neve Campbell. I think that she was terrific as Sydney, and that latter scene where she's also contacted by Ghostface, I think is absolutely spectacular because it's another scene, just like Casey, where you could put any character in it. You can basically imagine yourself being put in her shoes, having no idea what to do, and then bringing up the fact that her mother was killed last year. It just made it all the more important and made her character so much more vulnerable. Scream is now 20 years old, and I firmly believe it will still be entertaining 20 years from now because it completely redefined the slasher genre, had really compelling characters, and a story that I could really get behind. It had situations that you could really put any character into, and there were sequences of true terror that involved vulnerability on both sides. So guys, I really hope you enjoyed this mini analysis of the opening scene of Scream. If you guys have any comments on something that I should have added, something I should have deleted, or just if you enjoyed the video, please leave it in the comment section below. Thank you guys so much for watching my mini analysis reviews. I'll be back doing more of them very soon. You guys are the greatest people ever. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned. Have an awesome Halloween weekend.